Welcome to the deep dive. We've got some really fascinating ideas to explore today, looking at inner peace through the lens of Buddhist thought.
Yes, it's a rich area. We're hoping to kind of gently unpack some core insights.
Exactly. Think of it as us exploring together, finding ways to maybe bring a little more calm into the everyday. We're going to look at, well, three main things that stood out. The power of being really present mindfulness, then the freedom in accepting things,
Acceptance, yes. A big one.
and finally understanding that nothing really stays the same. Impermanence.
The constant flow.
Right. So let's start there with mindfulness, this idea of being present.
Okay, well, imagine you're by a river. You see leaves, twigs floating past.
Uh-huh.
You could try and grab every single one, right? But you'd just get exhausted. Probably wouldn't work anyway.
Yeah, sounds impossible.
Our minds can be a bit like that river. Thoughts, feelings just constantly flowing by. Mindfulness really is just about noticing that flow.
Not trying to grab onto the good thoughts or push away the bad ones.
Exactly, just observing, letting them pass without needing to do anything about them.
That river idea, it clicks. Because I feel like I spend so much energy replaying yesterday or worrying about tomorrow.
We all do that. It's very human.
So I miss, well, this right now. So it's not about stopping the river, the thoughts.
No, not at all. It's about changing your relationship to the river,
No.
cultivating this gentle awareness, attention really, to this moment.
And it's not just sitting on a cushion meditating.
Not necessarily. That helps, definitely. But it's more about bringing that quality of attention to, well, anything. Making tea, listening like you are now, even just walking down the street.
Okay.
Think of your mind like a huge open sky.
Okay.
And your thoughts are just clouds drifting through, some dark, some fluffy, some fast, some slow. Mindfulness is like being the sky itself, just vast, open, letting the clouds do their thing without you being the cloud.
Being the sky, not the cloud. I like that. When my head feels really busy, just imagining that open space, it does feel, I don't know, lighter somehow.
It can be.
Was there like a key moment or figure in Buddha's history that really highlights this shift to awareness?
Yeah, you can look at Siddhartha Gautama's own story. He started life very sheltered, right? Protected from anything difficult.
Yeah, I remember that part.
But then he saw an old man, a sick person, a corpse, the realities of suffering, and it completely changed his perspective.
Must have been a shock.
A profound one. But he didn't run away from it. He actually sat down under the Bodhi tree and just observed. He watched his own mind, his feelings, his thoughts with this steady, quiet attention.
He just sat with it all.
He sat with it all, and it was through that deep, mindful presence with his own experience, the difficult stuff included, that he eventually found, well, enlightenment, liberation.
So it wasn't about avoiding the hard truths, but meeting them mindfully.
Precisely. True understanding often comes from that direct, aware engagement with reality.
And it's amazing how that ancient idea now seems to be, popping up in modern science too. I think I read something about brain scans and mindfulness.
Yes, the convergence is quite interesting. Researchers like Dr. Sarah Lazar, for instance, have done work suggesting regular practice can actually change brain structure.
Change the brain. How?
Well, findings suggest increased gray matter density in areas linked to things like learning, memory, emotional regulation, attention.
Wow. So it's not just a nice idea, it could actually be like physically changing things.
The evidence points that way. It suggests this cultivation of awareness isn't just mental gymnastics. It can have real, tangible effects on our physical being, our well-being.
That's really encouraging. Makes it feel less abstract, more like a skill you can build. So for someone starting out, what's a simple way in? A first step?
The breath. It's always there. It's a perfect anchor.
Okay.
Maybe just find a quiet moment. You could even do it now. If
Yeah.
you feel okay doing so, maybe let your eyes close gently.
Right.
Just bring your attention to the feeling of breathing. Where do you feel it most? Chest, belly. Just notice the rise and fall. Take maybe 5 slow, deep breaths. You could even imagine breathing in calm and breathing out any tension, just gently.
And if my mind wanders off?
Which it probably will.
Oh, it will. That's perfectly natural. That's what minds do.
Yeah.
When you notice it's wandered, planning, remembering, whatever, just gently acknowledge it. No judgment. Thinking.
Yeah.
And then softly guide your attention back to the breath.
Like training a puppy, you mentioned.
Exactly like training a puppy. Patiently, kindly, gently redirecting. Again and again.
That feels doable. Less pressure to have a perfectly silent mind instantly.
There's no such thing, really. And think of the potential here. Imagine a lotus flower.
Okay.
It grows up through muddy water, right? But it blooms above the surface, completely pure and beautiful despite the muck.
Yeah.
Mindfulness is a bit like that. It lets us rise above the mental mud, the chaos, and find that clear space within. We don't need to eliminate the mud. We just learn to relate to it differently.
The lotus in the mud. That's a really hopeful image. That peace is possible even when things feel messy inside. It is, and this links to something else. The idea that between something happening, a stimulus, and our reaction, there's a little gap, a space.
A space, like a pause.
Exactly. A psychologist, Viktor Frankl, talked about this. In that space lies our power to choose our response. Mindfulness helps us notice that space. It makes it bigger, maybe?
So instead of just automatically reacting.
You get a moment to see the impulse, maybe anger, maybe fear, without just acting on it immediately. You can pause, observe, and choose a wiser response.
That sounds incredibly useful.
Yeah.
Especially in those moments I feel swept away by, frustration or something.
Think about being stuck in traffic. You're late. The usual reaction might be anger, stress, right? Honking, maybe?
Definitely been there.
But with mindfulness, you might notice that feeling bubble up. There's frustration. You feel it in your body. But because you noticed it, you have a tiny bit of distance. You don't have to become the anger.
So what do you do instead?
Maybe take a few breaths. Maybe put on some music you like. Maybe just accept, okay, I'm stuck. You shift from being like a victim of the traffic jam
Right.
to someone who has a bit more control over their inner state, even if the outer situation doesn't change.
That's a huge shift. Not denying the feeling, but not letting it run the whole show.
Precisely.
And I've noticed too, when I'm less caught up in my head, I actually see more, appreciate little things.
Yes. That's another beautiful aspect. Mindfulness can bring back a kind of childlike wonder. Kids are naturally present, aren't they? Fascinated by a bug or the way light hits something.
Oh, weird.
As adults, we get so focused on tasks, schedules. We rush past simple joys. Mindfulness invites us to slow down, to really taste our tea, the warmth, the aroma, to feel the sun, to listen. These small moments are our lives. Happiness is often found right here.
It's like retraining ourselves to notice the good stuff that's already here, instead of always chasing the next thing. So, summing up this mindfulness part, it's really about waking up from autopilot, paying attention on purpose right now without judging it.
Yes.
And that creates the space to respond to life more consciously, maybe more wisely.
Beautifully put. And that mindful awareness, that presence, it really paves the way for the next idea we wanted to explore. Acceptance.
Acceptance. Okay. This one. It sometimes feels like it means just giving up or saying something is okay when it really isn't.
Yes, that's a common misunderstanding. But true acceptance isn't passive resignation. It's not about liking or approving.
Yeah.
It's more about actively acknowledging reality, seeing things as they are in this moment without fighting against them, without denying them. That resistance, that's often what causes so much suffering.
The fighting against reality part.
Exactly. Remember the sky and the clouds?
Yeah.
Trying to hold on to the nice fluffy clouds or desperately batting away the dark, stormy ones that creates inner turmoil, doesn't it?
Yeah, sure. Exhausting.
Acceptance is like being the sky again, allowing all the clouds to drift through, knowing they're temporary. There's a surprising freedom in that surrender to what is.
Freedom in surrender. That sounds paradoxical.
It is a bit of a paradox. As the Buddha is often quoted, peace comes from within, do not seek it without. Acceptance is a huge part of cultivating that inner peace. It unlocks the door.
So distinguishing acceptance from resignation, that's key. It's acknowledging this is true right now, even if I don't like it.
Precisely. It's dropping the argument with reality. There's a story about a monk walking through the forest who accidentally steps on a snake.
Ooh, okay.
His first instinct might be panic, right? To jump back, maybe even try to hurt the snake.
Yeah, probably my first instinct.
But this monk, practice in acceptance, simply acknowledges a snake.
Mm-hmm.
He feels the fear perhaps, but doesn't react impulsively. He calmly assesses the situation and carefully steps away.
So he didn't ignore the danger, but he didn't add extra drama or conflict.
Exactly. He responded with equanimity and wisdom, born from accepting the reality of the situation, snake, and all without unnecessary struggle.
That makes sense in his story, but how does this translate to, modern life? Feeling overwhelmed, stressed about work, maybe anxious about the future.
It's incredibly relevant. So much of our modern stress comes from fighting against imperfections, right?
Yeah.
Our own, others' lives. We feel this pressure to control everything, to make it perfect.
Definitely feel that pressure.
Acceptance offers an alternative. It says, okay, life isn't perfect. I'm not perfect. This situation is difficult. Acknowledging that can free up enormous energy that was going into that impossible pursuit of control.
It takes the pressure off, maybe.
It really can. There's a concept in psychology, actually, from Dr. Marsha Linehan called radical acceptance.
Radical acceptance.
Yeah, it means fully, deeply embracing reality exactly as it is, even if it's painful or unpleasant. Not because you like it, but because fighting reality just doesn't work. It keeps you stuck.
So if something bad happens, like, say, losing your job,
Radical acceptance wouldn't mean saying, oh, good, I lost my job. It would mean acknowledging fully, I have lost my job. This is real. This is painful. And from that place of acceptance, you can then start thinking constructively, okay, what's next? How do I move forward? Rather than being stuck in denial or bitterness.
so acceptance actually allows for change rather than preventing it.
Often, yes. Because you're starting from what's true. Buddhist thought talks about dukkha. It's often translated as suffering, but it's maybe more like unsatisfactoriness, a subtle sense that things aren't quite right.
Okay.
And a lot of that dukkha arises from attachment specifically, attachment to how we think things should be rather than how they are.
The gap between expectation and reality.
Exactly. Think about being stuck in a long grocery line when you're in a hurry. The frustration comes from, this shouldn't be happening, I should be moving faster.
Totally.
Acceptance might look like, okay, I'm in a line, it's slow. Maybe you notice your frustration without feeding it. Maybe you even get a curious look around, notice the people. It shifts the whole experience.
From frustration to just being there, maybe even connection.
Potentially. So a practical way to practice this day to day. When you hit something unpleasant, a feeling, a situation,
Yeah.
maybe ask yourself 3 things. 1, what am I feeling right now? Just name it.
Okay. Annoyed, stressed, whatever.
2, can I allow this feeling to be here just for a moment without judging it or needing it to go away?
That's the tricky part.
It takes practice. And 3, can I do anything constructive to improve this situation right now? If yes, acceptance helps you see clearly what to do. If no, can I practice letting go of the struggle against it?
Okay. Name it, allow it, act, or let go.
Yeah.
So like getting critical feedback at work.
Right. Feel the sting,
Okay.
feeling defensive, or feeling hurt. Can I allow that feeling for a second? Then is there something useful here I can learn? If so, focus there. If it's just unfair criticism, maybe the letting go part is about not replaying it endlessly in your head.
That makes it feel more concrete.
Yeah.
And you mentioned gratitude earlier with mindfulness. Does that help with acceptance too?
Oh, absolutely. Gratitude is a powerful counterbalance. When things are tough, intentionally noticing what is good, what you do appreciate, even small things, it trains your brain. It helps you see that the difficult thing isn't the whole picture.
Keeping a gratitude journal, maybe?
That's a wonderful practice. Just jotting down a few things each day shifts your focus towards the positive, making acceptance of the difficult parts perhaps a little easier.
And what about acceptance in relationships? That seems huge.
It's foundational. So many conflicts come from trying to change people, right?
Right.
Or wishing they were different, not seeing their perspective.
Guilty as charged, probably.
Acceptance means trying to see them as they are flaws, strengths, history, everything. It fosters empathy. There's a Zen proverb. You should sit in meditation for 20 minutes every day unless you're too busy. Then you should sit for an hour.
Huh. Okay.
You could almost apply that to conflict. Feeling frustrated with someone, maybe take extra time to listen deeply, to try and understand their reality before reacting. Respond with compassion, which comes from acceptance.
Taking extra time to listen. That's hard when you're upset, but I see the wisdom.
And ultimately, this acceptance journey leads back to inner peace. Accepting yourself with all your quirks and imperfections, that's self-love, isn't it?
Yeah.
Accepting others fosters connection, and accepting that life itself is unpredictable, that things change, that builds resilience. It's an attitude that touches everything.
I heard a story once, maybe it was in the material, about someone named Maya dealing with chronic illness.
Ah, yes, that illustrates it well. She struggled for years, full of resentment, fighting her body. Why me?
Understandable.
But then, through practice, maybe at a retreat, she started to shift towards acceptance, not liking the illness, but accepting its reality in her life. And paradoxically, that acceptance freed her.
How so?
She stopped wasting energy fighting what she couldn't change and started focusing on what she could do, managing her symptoms, finding joy in small moments, appreciating the strength she'd gained. The illness didn't vanish, but her relationship to it transformed. She found a different kind of joy.
Wow. Acceptance didn't cure her, But it changed her experience of living.
Profoundly. So it's mindset, a skill. Takes practice, takes courage. It's about letting go of that illusion that we can control everything and instead trusting ourselves, trusting life's unfolding a little more. That's where peace and clarity often lie.
Letting go of the illusion of control, that's a big leap. And it feels like it connects directly to the last idea, impermanence.
It absolutely does. They're deeply interwoven.
So impermanence, back to the river, right? Always flowing, always changing. But like you said, we humans, we really like stability. We want things to last. The idea that nothing does can feel a bit unsettling.
It can. It challenges our fundamental desire for security. But Buddhist thought suggests that recognizing and embracing this universal truth, Annika, impermanence, is actually a hidden source of strength and freedom. Resisting it causes suffering. Accepting it brings peace.
So again, it's about changing our relationship to the change, not fighting it.
Exactly. Think of standing on a beach, watching the waves. Each wave swells, crashes, recedes. It has its moment, then it's gone, replaced by the next. Our lives, our thoughts, our feelings, our joys, our sorrows, they're all like those waves. Transient.
Everything passes.
Everything passes. Trying to hold on to a perfect wave or desperately trying to stop a scary one, it's futile. It just creates struggle. Understanding Annika means recognizing this constant flow.
Annika, that's the specific term.
Yes. It's one of the 3 marks of existence in Buddhism, along with dukkha, unsatisfactoriness, which we touched on, and anatta, non-self, the idea that there's no fixed permanent I.
Right. And Siddhartha, when he saw the old man, the sick man, the corpse, that was him realizing impermanence.
That was a huge part of it. He saw that youth, health, life itself, none of it lasts. It's inevitable. And embracing that truth rather than denying it was core to his path to liberation.
Which seems counterintuitive that embracing something potentially sad like change or loss could lead to liberation.
It does, doesn't it? But think about it. Clinging to something that's inherently changing is like grabbing smoke. It just leads to frustration and disappointment when it inevitably shifts. Letting go allows you to flow with the change.
Okay. Can you give an example of how this plays out, like someone facing a big unwanted change?
Sure. Imagine Sarah, a successful executive. Her identity is tied to her job. Then suddenly she's laid off. Devastating, right? The ground falls out from under her.
Yeah, that would be incredibly hard.
Initially, she might resist. Anger, denial, despair, clinging to the way things were. But if she starts to work with the idea of impermanence, she might eventually see this ending not just as a loss, but also as an opening.
An opening.
Maybe an opportunity forced upon her, but still an opportunity. Perhaps she rediscovers old passions, explores new paths. Maybe she starts her own business, something more aligned with her deeper values. The change was painful, yes, but embracing the impermanent nature of her old role allowed for transformation and growth. She reinvented herself.
So the end of one thing made space for something new. That connects to modern psychology too, doesn't it? Like the idea of a growth mindset.
Very much so. Dr. Carol Dweck's work on growth versus fixed mindsets is relevant here. A fixed mindset sees abilities as static, change is threatening.
Right.
A growth mindset believes abilities can develop, challenges are opportunities. Embracing impermanence inherently fosters that growth orientation. If everything changes, then we can change too. We can adapt, learn, evolve. It makes us more resilient.
So how can we practice embracing impermanence day to day? It feels big.
It is big, but the practice can be simple. Maybe take a moment each day for reflection. Ask yourself,
Right.
1, what am I grateful for today that might not last? A beautiful sunset, a conversation, even just feeling healthy right now, acknowledging its preciousness because it's fleeting.
Okay, appreciating the temporary good things.
2, what changes am I facing right now, big or small? Can I approach them with curiosity instead of just fear or resistance? This is different. What might I learn?
Shifting from resistance to curiosity. I like that.
And 3, are there any attachments to ideas, possessions, outcomes that aren't serving me? How can I practice letting go? Just a little.
So if someone's going through a breakup, for instance.
Right. Grateful for the good memories, perhaps, acknowledging they won't last in the same way, facing the change with curiosity about who they are now on their own, and gently letting go of the attachment to the relationship as it was. It's a process, of course.
Definitely a process. This brings up non-attachment again. You said it's not indifference.
Not at all. Non-attachment isn't about being cold or uncaring. It's about engaging fully, loving deeply, working hard, but without clinging desperately to the results or identifying solely with the outcome.
How does that work?
Think about planting a garden. You prepare the soil, you plant the seeds, you water, you weed, you engage fully in the process. You hope for good harvest, naturally.
Yeah.
But you also know you don't control everything. The weather, pests. Non-attachment means you find value and satisfaction in the doing, in the tending of the garden itself, regardless of whether you get the perfect harvest you envisioned. You appreciate the process.
Valuing the journey, not just the destination.
Exactly. Or imagine training for a marathon. You put in the work, you run the race. Maybe you don't hit your target time.
That would be disappointing.
It could be. But with non-attachment, you can still value the experience, the discipline, the effort, the crowds, finishing the race, even if the outcome wasn't exactly what you wanted.
Right.
You're less likely to let that one number define the whole experience.
Okay, I see. It allows you to appreciate what did happen.
Yes. And understanding impermanence actually invites us to live more consciously, doesn't it? If this moment is all we truly have, if everything is fleeting, doesn't that make it more precious?
It should, yeah. Makes you want to pay more attention.
Exactly, like a child marveling at a soap bubble. They know it's going to pop, and that makes watching it float even more magical. We can bring that attention to the taste of our food, the sound of rain, a loved one's smile, noticing the beauty because it won't last.
It adds a layer of appreciation.
It does. There's a beautiful Japanese art form, kintsugi,
Kintsugi.
where they repair broken pottery with lacquer mixed with powdered gold. Instead of hiding the cracks, they highlight them, making the piece even more beautiful because it was broken.
Wow, that's powerful.
It's a wonderful metaphor for impermanence and acceptance. Our challenges, our losses, our breaks, they don't have to diminish us. They can be seen as part of our story, contributing to our unique strength and wisdom. Wear the gold in your cracks.
Seeing scars as marks of resilience, not just damage.
Precisely. And perhaps the ultimate practice related to impermanence is contemplating, well, our own mortality. Maranasati, meditating on death.
That sounds intense.
Yeah.
Morbid, maybe.
It can sound that way, but the intention isn't morbid. It's actually life-affirming. Remembering that our time is finite helps cut through the trivial stuff. It brings clarity about what truly matters.
Puts things in perspective.
Tremendously. It fosters gratitude for the life we have now, humility, and a sense of urgency, not panicked rushing, but an urgency to live authentically, to love fully, to not put off what's truly important. Steve Jobs famously spoke about how remembering he'd be dead soon was the most important tool he had for making big life choices.
Because it makes the unimportant stuff fall away.
Exactly. Fear of embarrassment, pride, expectations, they vanish in the face of that ultimate impermanence.
So this teacher, Impermanence, it's not a threat, but actually a source of power.
That's the perspective. It liberates us from the impossible burden of trying to make everything stay the same. It opens us up to possibility, to flow, to renewal. Endings become beginnings, like the waves. Everything passes. But in that passing, there's life.
Wow. Okay. So mindfulness, acceptance, impermanence. We've covered a lot of ground.
We have, and you can see how they weave together.
Definitely. Mindfulness helps us see reality clearly. Acceptance helps us stop fighting it. And understanding impermanence helps us let go and flow with it.
A beautiful summary. They really are practical tools, not just philosophical ideas. Ways to navigate life's inevitable ups and downs with maybe a bit more ease, more serenity.
Yeah, more inner peace.
That's the hope.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, maybe something to reflect on. Which of these three, presence, acceptance, or embracing change, resonates most strongly with you right now in your own life?
A good question to sit with.
Maybe just notice how consciously bringing even a little bit of that principle into your days might shift things. It's a journey, right? A personal one.
Always ongoing,
Thank you.
gentle unfolding.
Well, thank you for exploring this with us today.